Here's a story that not a lot of people were covering, but it's one that a lot of influencers or a lot of BLM types, or even folks on the right who feel like the Carmelo Anthony case is getting unfair coverage. Maybe it's true of some people, specifically several people posting, RC Maxwell posting yesterday, basically calling out people for covering it and not covering this other incident when it had like just happened 6 seconds before he posted that. Here on this channel, I pride myself on covering bad things happening regardless of who does it. When white males do it, I cover it. When black males do it, I cover it. When trans individuals do it, I cover it. Maybe there are some people out there who don't have, any kind of interest in just being unbiased, but here we go. Here we have a story coming out of Virginia, a story worse than it would appear than Karmelo. And there are people out there like RC Maxwell who had his post removed saying nobody's talking about this yet, as if to say people only are covering the Carmelo Anthony case because it is a African American or a black student and a white student. Well, luckily for RC Maxwell and other people out there, I'm covering it. Unfortunately for him, we have. I mean, this is like such an incredible self-own. This is a terrible incident of a fight that took place between 16-year-olds at a high school. I'm not going to show the video, but here's how it really broke down. Two brown individuals, presumably Latino, were in a fist fight in the school. One of the kids lost that fight. And in response to losing that fight, he took out a knife and inserted several puncture wounds in the guy that won the fight. This is not self-defense. This was an act of aggression. This was an attempt to take this other kid's life. And again, what is going on in our schools? This Virginia teen, I'm trying to scrub like kind of real time here, so I don't show anything too. I try not to show, I don't know if you're like me, but like I went basically my whole life without seeing anything like, people's heads coming off and stuff like that. And I basically went my whole life without seeing this stuff, and I try not to show it to other people. But here we have a 16-year-old in a fight, hospitalized with life-threatening injuries. Now, I saw the fight. I saw the video. It was very dramatic. There was a lot of fluids lost. Who knows if this other kid's going to make it? A 16-year-old was hospitalized with life-threatening injuries after he received the pokey pokey from a classmate at a Northern Virginia high school. The student who did this pokey pokey was 15 when three students got into a fight inside of West Potomac High School, according to Fairfax County Police Department. The 16-year-old student was rushed to a local hospital with critical injuries, but is now stable and recovering, which Police Chief Kevin Davis told reporters was a sigh of relief for the entire community. The assailant, who has not been identified, was taken into custody and charged with malicious wounding, police said. A knife was recovered at the scene. There was no outstanding suspects in the isolated incident, cops said. The third student was being questioned by PD, but Davis did not anticipate he will be charged with any crime. If you watch the video, there's this third student that basically jumps in to like get the guy off him. These high school fights are always like, people are always shocked that everyone's just standing around, but most people like forget what high school fights are like. That's exactly what they are like. Everyone's standing around, cheering it on, filming it nowadays. When I was in high school, no one was filming it. But I'm trying to bring this up in a different window so I'd like to show, let's see. Yeah, I don't want to show the fight. But I was trying to show, here's the suspect I'll show. So a lot of people were posting this and saying like, Ha ha, quartering, you're not going to cover this, are you? I'm like, what are you talking about? First of all, this kid is clearly not white. And even if he was, I would still be covering it. You can see here, it looks like that is not a box cutter. That is not a cleat sharpener. That is a stabby knife. That is, a weapon that he had in school, probably because he anticipated this fight. Generally, if a fight's going to go down in high school, you know about it the day before. There's rumblings, there's scheduling, there's planning. But yeah, you can see he brought this knife to school and he used it to attempt to take this other kid's life. I don't know what's going on with youth in America. It's not like, by the way, just so I'm clear, it's not like white kids aren't doing stupid crap too. One just walked down to the Florida State University and attempted to take a bunch of lives. But again, youth, the question was this kid on SSRIs? Was he on, all this kind of stuff. There's also a scene in this video where a faculty member is simply walking by the fight happening, takes a picture, and then keeps walking. Now, a lot of people are going after this faculty member for not intervening. I have a different opinion. The faculty member looked like it might have been a custodian. They didn't look like a teacher for sure. Like maybe they were. Not my job. You don't pay a custodian enough to jump into a fight where one of these kids has a knife. I'm just going to keep it moving. I might, call. I'm sure there was like I'm sure they have like an officer at the school or, I'm not sticking my face in there. No way. You don't pay enough to even consider that. And again, what is going on with youth in this country? It's very, very sad. These people have no value for human life. Here's some more information on the story. You see, officials say the altercation took place just before 9:45 a.m. Local time is school resource officer, so they did have a resource officer, rushed to the aid of the wounded student. Police will charge the 15-year-old with malicious wounding, Fairfax County Police Major Elizabeth Melendez announced. Why wouldn't you charge him with attempted, taking of a life? If you've seen the pictures, there's like about a pint of this guy's fluid on the ground. And he clearly brought that weapon with him to school, probably in anticipation of this fight. Fairfax County Police Chief said that a third student was being interviewed. None of them were named at the press conference. NBC News Washington reported the video and images of the fight and its aftermath were circulating among students at the school. Parents were frustrated by the lack of communication about the school district about the incident and confronted Fairfax County Public Schools. Why are you mad at the school? Be mad at the parents of the kid who sent their kid to the school with a knife. Fights are going to happen, in particular between guys. Actually, nowadays, girls are going at it just as much. High school fights are a thing. In my high school, I went to the biggest high school in the state at the time. And there'd be a fight every other week. But it was usually D-gens. And the fight was definitely, there in my high school era, there were hundreds of fights that happened and nobody brought a weapon to school. It's just kids are different these days now. And they just have no regard for anyone's life. You pull that knife out, you are trying to take that other kid's life. The fact that you're getting a bogus, ridiculous, malicious wounding charge, they should charge this kid with attempted homicide, obviously. Why can't I check my daughter out? That's all I care about. A man identified by NBC Washington as Bill Beal yelled at Reed during the press conference. Reed responded that the building was being secured and the staff was ensuring that students were able to access their lunch period. I don't care about lunch right now, Beal responded. That's not an acceptable answer. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and predict that there will be a lot of people really considering homeschooling. This is why I want Donald Trump to offer tax credits to families that choose to homeschool, and he should also offer tax credit to people that don't have kids. Like, I'm sick of paying for my public education system in my state. People say, well, if you give tax credits for people that want to send their kids to private school, then the private schools will be junky too, because everyone will just flow in there. That's not how that works. you'll have low-level private schools, and then you'll have people who are willing to make the sacrifice to send their kids to a safe environment. And although those places aren't even safe anymore, just look at what happened in Nashville. Whatever is going on with America's youth, it is sad. And they simply just, I don't know if it's like this kind of gang banging culture. I don't know, because that's been around for 30 years. I'm sure that kids have been losing their lives in fights in places like Oakland, Compton, Los Angeles. I'm sure fights like that exist, but it's moving out into the suburbs now. And, look at Frisco. This is a upper class suburb, between two students, one student, the student who was the assailant his parents were rich and he still did it. I just don't understand. There's always like that famous line from, remember Friday when he finds Ice Cube with a weapon and he's like, don't fight like this. You use these, your fist, you win some, you lose some. But at the end of the day, everyone goes home. Like nowadays, people have just been whipped up into this case for, that's very close to a 4-inch blade. I can't tell if it just looks like a folding knife, might be 3.5 inch, might be under the legal limit. But, people say, oh, you can't have, we shouldn't have metal detectors at schools, blah, 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 blah. This is bad. We shouldn't have resource officers at school. This is bad. Well, we currently don't, and this is what we're having. People who can't, who aren't in a position to homeschool their kids or send their kids to private school, which again isn't necessarily safer, their kids are being put in harm's way because liberals are too unwilling to make anybody feel like maybe they're being targeted in some way or another. The fight, obviously, you want to watch it. It's on X, but I told you how it broke down. Kid lost the fight, took out a knife. Instead of just taking your beating and moving on. Now, I don't know who started it, but the fact that he's getting that pathetic charge means he's probably not even going to do any time. I hope you were informed by this video. If you were, please do leave a like on it. If you haven't yet, please subscribe or follow down below, and we'll talk to you again real soon.